In today's lesson, we'll be learning how to apply the midpoint of a line segment. In our first example, two schools are located at the points P, -14, and Q, 72 on a town map. The school board is planning a new sports complex to be used by both schools. The school wants to find a location equidistant from the two schools. Use an equation to represent the possible locations for the sports complex. Let's begin by breaking down this question. Points P and Q are clearly marked on the diagram. The blue line, which connects the two schools, is a line segment, while the black line is a right bisector. It is a line that passes through the midpoint of a line segment and intersects it at a 90-degree angle. So let's label it as a right bisector. The right stands for this little 90-degree angle that it makes with the line segment, and it's a bisector because it cuts that line segment exactly in half. Because we're using this right bisector, it means that the sports complex will be equidistant from the two schools no matter where it is located on the black line. And last but not least, we are trying to figure out the equation of this right bisector. And we're going to figure it out in slope-intercept form, which means we're going to need its slope as well as its y-intercept. Because the black line is a right bisector, that means it is perpendicular to the blue line. And if these lines are perpendicular, that means their slopes are negative reciprocals. Let's find the slope of the line segment PQ, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'm going to put in my known values. I'm going to put 4 in brackets, subtract -2, and then -1 in brackets, subtract +7. We're going to simplify this. 4 subtract -2 is 4 plus 2, which is 6, and -1 subtract 7 is -8, and we do not like to leave the negative sign in the denominator, so that's actually -6 over 8, and we want to simplify this fraction, so -6 over 8 is -3 over 4. Since these two lines are perpendicular, that means their slopes are negative reciprocals. Therefore, the slope of the right bisector, which I'm just going to call RB, is going to be 4 over 3, and it's going to be positive. Remember, to make a negative reciprocal, all you do is you flip the number and change its sign. We just determined the slope of the right bisector to be 4 over 3. However, we still need to find the y-intercept of the right bisector. And to do that, we're going to need any point on the right bisector. But as you can see, none is labeled. Therefore, we're going to have to find our own. And that is going to be the midpoint of line segment PQ, which is the blue line. I'm going to start with the equation for the midpoint of a line segment. So that's going to be the sum of the x-coordinates divided by 2, and the sum of the y-coordinates divided by 2. We're going to substitute in our known values. So over here, I'm going to have -1 plus 7 divided by 2, and then +4 plus -2 divided by 2. Let's simplify in the next step. So -1 plus 7 is +6, and 4 plus -2 is 2. Therefore, 6 divided by 2 is 3, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. So the midpoint of our line segment PQ is 3, 1. At last, we have the slope for our right bisector, which was 4 over 3, and we also determined the midpoint to be 3, 1. Remember, we want to find the equation of the right bisector in slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. We already know that the slope is 4 over 3. However, we want to find the y-intercept. All we need to do is substitute any point on this line into the equation and solve for b. I'm going to substitute in the midpoint, which we just solved for. So instead of y, I'm going to write 1 in brackets, and instead of x, I'm going to write 3 in brackets. Let's simplify this a little bit. The 1 stays the same. These 3 cancels out, so I'm left with a 4. Remember, you want to isolate b. However, b is stuck with this positive 4. To get rid of it, you need to subtract 4 from both sides of the equation. So these cancel out. 1 subtract 4 is -3. And I'm just going to rewrite this so that you can read it from left to right. And the y-intercept is -3. Let's summarize all the information we just determined on our diagram. So again, the slope of the right bisector was determined to be 4/3. The midpoint of the line segment PQ was determined to be 3, 1. And the y-intercept of this line was determined to be -3. Therefore, we now have enough information to write the equation of this right bisector. Y equals 4/3x subtract 3.